There is a structure in the top of this thorn tree that is 8 feet across, more than a foot deep, and heavy enough that the tree has grown around the weight of it. It took 2 birds 6 years to build, 1 stick at a time, carried in a beak, because neither of them can hold anything in their feet. There are 2 chicks sitting in the middle of it right now, and they are not the most valuable thing up here. The platform is worth more than they are, and every decision these parents make today proves it. That sounds cruel until you understand what this structure actually is, and then it stops being cruel and becomes arithmetic. Because this is not a nest in the way you are picturing a nest. It is not a shelter, it has no walls, and it does not hide anything. It is a piece of fixed infrastructure in a landscape that has almost none. And it is the single thing that makes their entire way of living possible. Stay to the end, because the last thing that happens today is the reason none of it is ever safe. Here is the whole day before we take it apart. At 10 to 6, the male walks off the platform, drops to the ground, and starts the 15 miles he will cover today entirely on foot. At 10 past 11, the ground temperature passes the point where a chick cannot survive direct sun, and the female stops being a parent and becomes a roof. At 2:30, the male comes back, stands over the platform, and brings up food out of his own throat, because he has no way to carry it in his feet. At 20 to 6, with both chicks fed and the day almost over, both adults spend the last light of it doing the same thing they have done for 6 years. They go and fetch more sticks. The female is in her 9th year, and out here she is called Ayo. She stands 4 feet tall, weighs about 8 pounds, and almost everything about her is legs. Her mate is called Themba. He is a year younger, and the 2 of them have held this piece of country together since they were both young birds. Secretary birds pair for life, and in practice that means they pair for a place. And that arrangement is far less romantic than it sounds when you look at what holds it together. A bird that loses its mate here does not usually leave. It stays on the tree and takes a new partner within a season or 2. The pairing survives because the asset survives, and the asset is not the other bird. 2 adults are the minimum staff required to run a structure like this, and a single bird cannot hold a territory this size on its own. They are not a couple that happens to own a tree. They are 2 employees of a building that needs at least 2. Because the thing they actually share is not affection, it is an address. Their territory runs to something close to 20 square miles of open grassland. They do not patrol it from the air. They walk it 15 to 20 miles a day, every day, for years. And at the center of all of it, absolutely fixed, is one flat-topped thorn tree with a platform in the top of it. Now understand how rare that tree is, because this is where the whole story starts. It has to be tall enough to be out of reach from the ground, but not so tall that 2 heavy birds cannot land on top of it. It has to have a flat, dense crown that will hold a wide platform, not an upright crown that sheds it. It has to be strong enough to carry hundreds of pounds of accumulated sticks through wind and rain for decades. And it has to stand alone, with no branch from any other tree touching it, because a branch that touches is a bridge. In 20 square miles of this grassland, there might be a handful of trees that satisfy all of that at once. And the ones that qualify are not distributed conveniently. They are where they are. So a pair does not choose a territory and then find a tree in it. They find a tree, and the territory is whatever they can reach on foot from it. And this is why the neighbors are spaced the way they are. The distance between one pair and the next is not decided by aggression or by how much food the grassland holds. It is decided by where the qualifying trees happen to stand, which is a matter of soil, seeds, and decades of luck. A young bird that has left its parents can be fully grown, fully capable, and perfectly able to hunt, and still spend 2 or 3 years with nowhere to breed. Out here, the limit on how many of these birds exist is not food, it is real estate. Which means the tree does not sit inside their life. Their life is arranged around the tree. Every hunting route they walk has to end back here before dark. The practical working radius of 2 animals that cover the ground on foot is about 8 miles, and that circle is drawn from this trunk. This single tree defines where they eat, where they sleep, and how far their world extends in every direction. And now look at what they built on top of it, because the cost is the part nobody sees. The platform is a mat of sticks, some of them nearly 3 feet long, packed and interlocked into a solid floor, lined in the center with dry grass. After 6 seasons, it is 8 feet across and deep enough to stand in, and it does not move in wind that bends the tree. But here is the detail that turns that from impressive into extraordinary. They cannot carry sticks in their feet. The feet of this bird are short-toed and blunt-clawed, built to strike downward, and they cannot close around anything at all. Every single stick in that platform was picked up in a beak, carried in a beak, and placed with a beak. Thousands of sticks, one at a time, over 6 years, by 2 birds that have to walk to find most of them. So when you look at that platform, you're not looking at a nest. You are looking at several thousand individual journeys, each one costing time that could have been spent hunting. There is no way to speed it up, no way to buy it, and no way to move it. A structure like this cannot be relocated, and it cannot be rebuilt quickly anywhere else. It is the only capital these 2 animals will ever own, and it exists in exactly one place. And the difference between a new platform and an old one is not decoration. A first-year structure is thin, loose, and shallow, and a hard wind through the crown can spill eggs straight off the edge of it. 6 years of added sticks means a rim that holds, a floor that does not flex, and a center deep enough that a chick rolling over stays in. Every season of maintenance buys a measurable drop in the chance of losing a clutch to nothing more dramatic than weather. The platform is not just where the chicks live. It is the reason a bad night stays a bad night instead of ending the year. Now, set that against what is sitting in the middle of it this morning. There are 2 chicks up there, hatched a few days apart, covered in grey down, with legs already too long for their bodies. They will not fly for around 80 days, which is a long time to be a soft animal sitting on an open platform. And for the whole of that period, they cannot walk anywhere, cannot hide anywhere, and cannot be moved. That last point is worth sitting with for a moment. A mammal with young in a burrow can pick them up and carry them to another burrow, and many do it constantly. These 2 birds have no such option. For the same reason they carry sticks in their beaks. With no grip, there is no carrying, and with no carrying, there is no evacuation. Whatever happens, happens here. So every risk these chicks face has to be solved in advance, not reacted to. There is no moving them to a safer tree if something starts using this one, and no second site held in reserve. Whatever the platform does not solve on its own has to be solved by an adult standing on it. That is why one parent is here for most of the first month, and why the schedule of the entire household is built backwards from that requirement. The chicks have exactly 2 defenses, height and a body, which sets up the calculation the whole episode rests on. A clutch of chicks is expensive, but it is replaceable. There will be another one next season, and the season after that. The platform is not replaceable in any meaningful sense. Losing it costs them years, and possibly the territory itself. So, when the 2 are in conflict, the platform wins, and it wins every time. That is not coldness. It is the difference between this year's output and the factory that makes it. At 10 to 6, Temba steps off the edge and drops down to the grass, and the working day starts. He will walk all of it. Secretary birds hunt almost entirely on foot, flushing prey out of grass with their own legs and killing it with a single downward strike. That strike lands with a force around 5 times his body weight and lasts about 15 thousandths of a second. It is a fast, cheap weapon, and it only works on something standing between his foot and solid ground. And what he does with the food he kills is the second consequence of having no grip. He cannot carry a snake or a rat back to the nest in his feet, and he cannot carry it 8 miles in his beak. So he swallows everything he catches, whole, on the spot, and stores it in his crop. He is not eating his chick's food. He is transporting it in the only container available to him. The fuel, the payload, and the vehicle are all the same animal, which puts a hard shape on how he hunts. Small, frequent prey suits this system far better than one large kill, because a crop holds what it holds. A big snake taken 8 miles out is mostly eaten out there by him, because most of it will never make it home in any usable form. And every trip has a return leg on foot, so the further he goes, the more of the day disappears into walking rather than feeding. The range of these birds is not set by how far they can go. It is set by how far food can travel inside them. That single fact shapes the day of every bird in this family. There is a limit to how much a crop can hold, which puts a ceiling on how much a chick can be fed per trip. There is a limit to how far he can walk before the return journey costs more than the load is worth. And there is no possibility of a big delivery. Nothing here is going to bring home a whole antelope leg. Everything those chicks will ever eat arrives in small amounts, brought up out of a throat several times a day for 80 days. Back at the tree, Io is not resting. By 10 past 11, the sun is high enough that the platform, which is dark grey, sticks in full light, is becoming a hot plate. The chicks cannot move into shade because there is no shade. The platform is the highest thing here, and there is nothing above it. So she stands over them with her wings half open and holds that position. And that is the real protection this nest offers, which is almost nothing structural at all. The platform has no walls, no roof, no cover, and no concealment. It is a floor in the sky, and everything that makes it survivable is provided by the bodies of 2 adult birds. She is not a mother watching over her young in a shelter. She is the shelter, standing in full sun for hours, losing water she will have to walk to replace. And she cannot simply go and drink to fix that. These birds get most of their water out of the bodies of what they kill, which means replacing fluid means hunting, and hunting means leaving. A chick in direct sun on dark sticks can be in trouble in well under an hour, and it cannot move, pant its way out of it, or find shade. So the mathematics of the middle of the day are brutally simple. She stays and dries out, or she leaves and they cook. Shade is not comfort up here. It is the difference between 2 chicks and none. The nest does one thing extremely well, and it is worth being precise about what that is. It puts 2 helpless animals above the level where anything that walks can reach them. Everything on this landscape that would eat a chick and cannot climb is now irrelevant, permanently, all day and all night. That is a huge amount of danger removed by a structure that is basically a floor. But it only removes the ones that walk, and this landscape has other categories. From above, the platform is an 8-foot pale disc in the top of a dark tree, visible from a very long way up. Crows and ravens work these trees deliberately, and they are patient, intelligent, and prepared to wait all morning for one gap. A large eagle can take a chick off an open platform without landing on it properly. And the same feature that keeps ground predators out, the fact that it is high and exposed, is exactly what makes it visible from the air. The design that solves one problem creates the other, and there is no version of this that solves both. Which is why one adult stays here for most of the first month, and why that is so expensive. Two birds that both hunt bring in roughly twice the food of one bird that hunts. For the whole early period, this pair is running on one income and two appetites, plus two chicks. The bird standing on the platform is not resting. She is spending the household's hunting capacity to be a body in the right place. Put a number on that, and the size of the bet becomes obvious. For roughly the first 5 or 6 weeks, this family operates on about half the hunting power it actually has. One bird is covering the food for 4 animals across 20 square miles, on foot, in the same heat everyone else is hiding from. If the grass is thin that month, or if the walking bird is injured, there is no reserve anywhere in the system to draw on. They are not short of effort, they are short of legs, and the platform is what makes that shortage worth accepting. Now, the honest part, because there is something up here that people find hard. Those 2 chicks did not hatch on the same day. There are usually a few days between them. That gap is not an accident of timing. It is built into how the eggs are laid and incubated. The result is an older chick that is bigger, stronger, and better at reaching food when a parent brings it up. In a bad season, that difference decides everything, and it is very common for only one of the 2 to reach the point of flying. And the mechanism behind that is worth stating plainly, rather than dressing up. The second egg is not a second child in the way we would mean it. It is a spare. If the first egg fails, or the first chick does not thrive, the second one becomes the entire season. If both do well and food is good, both can fledge, and in good years, both often do. It is an insurance policy written in advance by an animal that cannot know what kind of year it is going to be. What the parents do not do is choose. There is no decision being made up here, no favoring, no rejection. The adults bring up food, and whichever head reaches it first gets it, exactly as it would be on any other day. The outcome comes from the size difference and from how much food is walking around out there this month. Calling that cruelty is a category error. It is a system that maximizes the chance that at least one chick survives every single year. At 2:30, timber lands on the edge, and the platform shifts slightly under 8 pounds of arriving bird. It does not land in the middle. The center is where the chicks are, and a 4-foot bird coming down hard is a hazard of its own. He walks in from the rim, lowers his head, and brings up what he has been carrying since mid-morning. Both chicks feed. The whole exchange takes under 2 minutes, and then he is standing at the edge again, looking out at the grass. And then the pair does something that only makes sense once you accept what the platform is. With the light going and both adults tired from a full day of walking, they go and collect sticks. The chicks are fed. Nothing is threatening the tree, and the sensible thing would be to stop. Instead, each of them brings in several more pieces and works them into the rim, thickening the edge that takes the most wind. They do this most days of the year, including seasons when there are no eggs and no chicks up here at all. That is the tell, and it is the answer to the question this whole story asks. Maintenance does not happen for the benefit of the current occupants. A structure that gets thickened in months when it is empty is not being maintained for these 2 chicks. It is being maintained because it has to still be here in 3 years, and in 6, and after that. The platform is not equipment for raising a family. It is the thing the family exists to keep. And the numbers on that are not close. A good pair might raise 1 or 2 chicks in a season, and there will be a dozen or more seasons. One platform can serve all of them. And nests like this are known to be used for many years and by more than one generation of birds. So a single clutch is a fraction of what the structure will produce over its life. Any behavior that trades this year's chicks for the survival of the tree is not a tragedy. It is basic accounting. You can see that logic in what these birds do not do. They do not attack a large climbing animal on their own platform, and they do not fight anything at close quarters up there. On the ground, this bird kills snakes by standing on them, using a straight leg and a solid floor. On a mat of loose sticks in the dark, with nothing firm under the striking foot and no way to grip or hold, that entire weapon does not work. The most effective killer on this grassland is, in its own home, almost unarmed. So what they do instead is display and noise and size. Both adults stand up to their full height with wings spread, which makes each of them look like something much larger than a bird. They are not bluffing out of cowardice. They are using the only tool that has any chance of working in a place where their real tool is useless. And if it does not work, they do not go down fighting on the platform, because a dead adult means no chicks next year either. Protecting the structure and protecting themselves are the same decision, and both outrank the clutch. Meanwhile, the tree is quietly earning in ways nobody up here arranged. Smaller birds nest in the lower branches, safer for being under a structure that big predators avoid. The shade under the crown is the only shade for a long way, and animals walk to it in the middle of the day. One pair of specialists maintains a building, and a whole neighborhood runs on it without contributing a stick. And some of those tenants are not harmless. The only good shade for a mile is directly under this trunk, and in the heat of the afternoon it gets used by whatever wants it. Some days there is a jackal lying 20 feet below 2 chicks that cannot walk, and nothing about that is a threat because it cannot climb. But it means the tree is a landmark that everything in this country knows the location of and knows to come to. The structure that hides nothing has, over decades, advertised itself to every animal within a day's walk, and all of it stands on a single trunk, which is the part nobody in this story can do anything about. The tree is alive, and living things fail. Borers get into it. Drought thins the crown. Lightning finds tall, isolated objects in flat country. A hot enough fire running up from thick grass at the base can kill it outright without touching the platform. 6 years of work, and the address that defines 20 square miles of 2 birds' lives depends entirely on one plant staying upright. They cannot maintain the tree. They can only maintain what is on top of it. So the ledger for the day comes out like this. One adult walked 15 miles and converted grassland into 2 minutes of feeding, twice. One adult stood in direct sun for hours as a piece of roofing. 2 chicks got smaller meals than they wanted and moved slightly closer to being able to fly. And the platform got 4 sticks thicker, which is the only line in the ledger that will still matter in 5 years. They are not raising chicks in a tree. They are maintaining the one fixed structure in a landscape with almost no structure in it. And the chicks are this year's output. Everything that looks like devotion up here is maintenance, and everything that looks like coldness is a longer accounting period than ours. A clutch is a season. The platform is a life. And tonight, at about 9 o'clock, something is walking up the dry riverbed a mile east of here. It weighs 4 tons. It eats the bark and branches of thorn trees, and when a tree does not give it what it wants easily, it puts its forehead against the trunk and pushes. It has no interest in the birds, no idea the platform exists, and no reason to look up. 6 years of building, this year's chicks, and the fixed point that the whole territory is drawn around can end in about 10 minutes on a quiet night. And there is nothing 8 pounds of anything can do about 4 tons that is simply hungry.